All right, looks like we're up and running. Let's do sound test here. Turn that on first. All right, it's coming through on both sides. Camera looks good, mic looks good. So I am just gonna take this link and copy it in a couple of places as per usual. So I'm gonna go plop this down on Twitter real quick. All right, live now. I will actually grab the real video for this. If I can get to my channel. There we go. There's the live video. We're going to go ahead and drop this into our playlist as well. But I got another minute. I didn't give myself a lot of time on this one. Oh, hey, Tyler, what's up? I didn't actually have my stream stuff open yet. But I guess it's only been a few seconds, so we're all good. All right, we're going to go move this one over here. And okay, that looks good. So we're going to drop that one. Actually, let me move this over here. Boom. All right, so I've got that dropped. And then I'm going to drop this in the Discord channel. Oh, we're out of time. We're out of time. My minute's up, but it's okay. I'm going to take another minute. Let me put that timer back on there. We're not going to take a full 5 minutes, but I'm just going to put the 5-minute timer back on there, so anybody joining in right now knows that we're gonna take a minute. Okay. Where did my live streams go? There they are. And then I've got a Slack channel. Actually, let me see if there's a Utah home lab. See, they have. I don't see video. There we go. Video. I get that one there. All right, Colo channel. All right, and then let me drop, or not drop per se, but I'm going to move my chat over here so I can see the chat. Just found your channel, really enjoy the content, keep it up, huge advocate for Proxmox, and have learned a ton from your content. Oh, great, I'm so glad. So, as a Proxmox authorized reseller, I am obligated to tell you that despite the way that they color it in their logo, it is not a capital M. It's like part of the agreement that I signed, like I had to write in blood that I would never, under any circumstances, accidentally capitalize the M. That's part of the agreement. So now every time I see, because that's the way I used to do it. Well, yeah, basically, until I saw that. I mean, not that it matters much, but it's you can tell who's been through, like, who's authorized and who's been through certification based on the spelling of the word Proxmox, because they want people that represent them to get their brand right. So the signing in blood was not actually part of the agreement. I did not sign in blood. I signed digitally. Anyway, so yeah, I think we are ready to go now. Was there anything else I was going to do? No, I don't think so. This one's going to be, fingers crossed, a short one. It has to be a short one because I have a date with my wife in a little bit. So, yeah, it is definitely absolutely 100% going to be a short one. Let's just move over here. All right, so a couple things to note before we get started. Now it is official. Root, my company, is a Proxmox authorized reseller. So if you have any interest in having us as your point of contact and getting a little bit of a discount as part of that, please feel free to let me know. Website's therootcompany.com. And I am officially Proxmox certified. So we've got that. Now this part, the certification process I went through was for the cluster training. That's what I went through, but I did not go through the administration training that I have scheduled as well. However, just seeing how the cluster training went, I was able to look at the administration material with a more careful eye, and I think that I will, yeah. Anyway, what's the word? Yeah, I feel confident. I feel confident when I do the administration training. I'm also sure that I'm going to pick up some gold nuggets, but I don't feel that there's any lacking. I've gone through the material a little bit more closely since then. Anyway, so we are here at a new install. I did this install a week or two ago, and I did it just to be able to test out the subscription stuff. So we are going to, let me just get rid of those. We are going to go log in as root. We could basically consider that this was our first login. I have done some other stuff with this. But we pop up here and it says no valid subscription. So I want to talk just for a second about what is the subscription? What does it mean? It's not a license, it's a subscription. It's a subscription to repositories. And basically there are 4 stages of repository. There's some internal testing that Proxmox does. Then there is the test repository, which we'll see soon. Then there's the no subscription repository, which is what most people use. And there's the enterprise subscription repository. Enterprise subscription repository, you pay for the subscription, it's per year, it's per CPU socket, and the subscription also comes with support. And that support, when you buy through a reseller, such as Root, the reseller is your first point of contact, and the reseller manages that relationship between Proxmox and you. And the benefit to that is that you don't waste your support inquiries on dumb stuff. I'm sorry, I don't mean to use the word dumb, but your support inquiries, because we're the first point of contact, a lot of that, anything that's part of the setup process, that's part of that initial point of contact for the subscription and the setup, whatever we negotiate, Root and you, that's all covered under us, under our agreement. And in the case that we do need to extend out to Proxmox, there's a little bit more of a trusted relationship there, implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly between the reseller and certified support versus the end user, and it just maximizes any support requests that you might need. So we kind of take a loss on it in a sense, but it just, that's how the relationship essentially works. So there's the support side, and then there's also the timeline side. So the life cycle of enterprise repositories is anywhere, for example, on critical fixes, could be anywhere between hours and months out from when it lands in the no subscription repository. So the more stable it is, the more low risk it is, or the more critical it is, the shorter the timeline. So critical security fixes or things that are relatively inconsequential will go from testing to no subscription to enterprise subscription very quickly. And the going between testing and no subscription happens pretty quickly because it's internal testing, external testing, and no subscription. That's a pretty quick process, but between no subscription and enterprise, the process is a little bit longer. And I can point to a document that describes that. Let me see if I can just pull that up real quick, because that was something that was of note to me. I want to know, what is it that you're getting when you are purchasing this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to post this in the chat. Boop. All right. So here's the thread where I ask about this, and I point to some public sources they have, and then we've got a response from, I forget, is it Tim or Tom? I actually don't remember what his first name is. Anyway, so this is where this is laid out, what I'm telling you now. So in case you wanted to know, things like kernels, new kernel updates, those are going to be the ones that last months. Non-security fixes, things that are consequential but not urgent or important, might take between days and weeks. So you are just paying for other people to be the beta testers, essentially, for your subscription when you get access to the enterprise repo, and then there's the support as well. Okay, let me answer a couple questions here. How do you recommend handling centralized management? Have you taken a look at Proxmox Datacenter Manager? That just came out, where just is a strong word. There's the first alpha release almost 5 months ago now. So this could be something that could help you out. You can install this. It's not yet available for subscription as far as I'm aware. It is only available as an alpha, and a lot of the features are still command line only, but there is a roadmap document, so I'll drop this down here too. So Proxmox Datacenter Manager, taking a look at it, I think that it's pretty neat. I have multiple clusters in prod, all with the same IPs, and a good way to manage them. For example, scale computing as a fleet manager that allows this through their cloud with no VPN. That, I don't know. By the same IPs, I mean each cluster has the same private IP on each node respectively. So would it work to do, for example, it seems that it's pretty common convention among what I've seen of members of the community to use 172 for the cluster. So would it be reasonable to do 172.16, 172.17, 172.18 just for clarity? Also, I don't think that that really affects anything from the perspective of the outside going in, but I don't have a good answer for that. So we could, if you wanted to talk about it sometime, I'd be happy to talk about it and kind of spitball and brainstorm with you. So back to this. So the first thing that I wanted to go over is, what does the subscription mean? Because you're going to get this notice every time that you log in, and it kind of looks a little scary, and it just kind of reminds you, hey, this is a paid product that we would like your support in. We would like you to support us as we support you, right? So I actually want to go ahead and get rid of that notice. So we are going to go down at the node level. We're going to go down to subscription, and the server ID here is generated by the SSH keys. So if you regen your SSH keys for the host at the host level, then the server ID will change, and you would need to alert your reseller or go into the web interface and manage that. And you can reissue, you have the same subscription key, but the server ID is actually what acts as the password for the repository. So I am going to reinstall this, or reconfigure its SSH keys at least, and this is going to rotate. But what I'm going to show on screen with the subscription key is the actual subscription key. Subscription key is only useful if in the web interface it's in an unlocked state. So I'm going to log into Proxmox here in another window privately, and I'm going to go into my subscriptions. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this for myself. Okay. So actually, I will show you what this looks like. I don't think there's anything here that's particularly confidential or scary. Yeah. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and bring this on over so you can see it, what the interface looks like when you have a subscription. So here, you can see server ID. I had already tested this out. And then here's the subscription key. So we've got that. So I'm going to go ahead and click reissue here, and that is going to blank out the server ID. So successfully completed, and saying that, so now this one is no longer valid, but when it gets this action we're about to do, so we go upload subscription key and paste in the subscription key, it's going to use this, and essentially the password on the account isn't set. It's going to set that as the password. So I go ahead and set that, and then you can see now the status is active. Now we've got 1 CPU, community subscription. You can see it's PVE1C. So PVE1 for 1 CPU, C for community. I believe that could just be random, but I believe that that's what it is. And then that's the actual subscription number. So this is licensed for 1 socket, and this is when it is due for renewal. And this is when it was last checked. Okay. So if I go back over here to the subscription interface and I just refresh, oops, let me do it this way instead. So when that refreshes, I go back in here, boop, and we can now see that here is the server ID. So that password has been updated. So just wanted you to have an idea of what that looks like. So you see what the interface is, so you're comfortable with that, feels friendly. Again, you generally are not going to deal with that unless you are managing it yourself. If you're going through a reseller, the reseller is typically going to manage that for you, help you with the install process, get everything set up, and manage that for you. And then if we wanted to, we could click remove subscription, and then it will just wipe this information out. This will no longer count as a subscribed node. I would still need to go into the interface and hit reissue. So just so that that's clear. And let's see. So from here, let's go ahead and log out and log back in, and I'll take a look at comments. So we logged out. It's crazy how, compared to modern web applications, how fast this is. You forget that the web's not supposed to be slow. All right. So now you notice when I log in, I don't get that warning anymore. So let's go over how we do our updates now that we've got our subscription. I'm not going to cover this right now, but I will cover later how we do side grades. So let's say you need to sync 2 nodes. There's a process for that that's not officially supported in Proxmox, but it is supported by Debian. So if you have nodes that are at different levels, you want to add something to the cluster, and for whatever reason, perhaps just risk mitigation, you're not ready to upload or to upgrade all of the other nodes to the latest version, because you've installed with an ISO, you've upgraded your node since then, you want to add a new node to the cluster, you install from the ISO there. You should not be adding, if you ever have things in a bad state, the cluster is not in good health, or if things are different versions, don't add things to the cluster. Bad things can happen. You want them to be synced. So we'll go over that later. But on the happy path, you're just going to be able to update everything, right? So let's go into repositories. Again, we're at the node level. We're going to go down to repositories here. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these logs. And we can see in this one, I should have shown this before we would have gotten a warning here, you do not have a subscription. And then here we could disable the enterprise subscription for both Ceph and PVE, then we get an error, and we could instead add the no subscription. So I'm just going to do this just to show what it looks like. So no subscription, we got that warning. That's what it would typically look like. And then I could go here and I could say we want Ceph. I believe Reef is what is the current recommended version. So I could add no subscription there for Ceph if I'm going to use Ceph. And so it's saying, hey, you can't get updates for the enterprise repository. Recommended not to do that. Okay, so we're going to swap this around. I'm just going to go ahead and disable the no subscription version. Oh, actually, I want to add enterprise Ceph Reef enterprise. There we go. So we're going to disable Quincy. And you can see it says enterprise here. We're going to enable. No, we're not going to enable that one. We added this one. So we've got our Ceph. And then we have our PVE enterprise. And we're going to enable that one. And now, let's see. So now we have enterprise enabled, and we need to disable the PVE no subscription. So disable that now, we're all good. So I'm going to click reload. This is actually just fetching the list of repositories itself. It's up at updates where I can click refresh and it's going to show a list of packages. It was actually fetching that. So this is basically similar to apt-get update and then showing what could be updated. And then if I click upgrade, that's where it's going to pop up and it's going to ask me, do you want to continue? If I hit yes and enter, it's going to go ahead and upgrade. Since we only have a few things that are going to get upgraded, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And this is similar to an apt-get dist-upgrade or PVE upgrade. So there's PVE update and PVE upgrade that are wrappers around apt-get update and apt-get dist-upgrade. And then let me check comments here. My only issue with Proxmox Datacenter Manager is that I need to use the same IP scheme at each site due to requirements. Okay, understood. So I'm not familiar with how that works. But you said you're not connecting through a VPN, you're connecting through a Scale Computing Fleet Manager. Okay. Is one CPU license indicating one physical CPU socket per year? Yes. So you can get licenses 1 CPU, 2 CPU, or 4 CPU. And that's sockets, not cores, but sockets. So 1 CPU socket, 2 CPU sockets. All right. So this is going to take a minute. And there's nothing really more that we need to worry about here. So I might just skip over this. Okay, it finished. It's good. So if I were to run apt-get update now, it's going to go fetch stuff, but it's already done this. It shouldn't have any updates. And if I were to run apt-get dist-upgrade, then we shouldn't see any change. Oh, interesting. We do see a change. Huh. Let me take a look at that. I will actually ask about that because that's not the behavior that I expected. Let me do PVE upgrade. Let's see what this does. apt-get dist-upgrade. Huh. I'm actually going to ask about that. So we were talking in the forums about the issue of apt-get upgrade versus apt-get dist-upgrade and PVE upgrade. And the general consensus is, because we're dealing at the host level, we always want to be running dist-upgrade because we're using different repositories. We're using Debian repositories, and we're also using Proxmox repositories. And the way that they've designed the lifecycle flow is that you should be using dist-upgrade. If you do not use dist-upgrade, there is the potential for you to not get new packages that are part of that release cycle, and things can break. So I believe that in the next version of the documentation, there's going to be a message, a warning about this, because there actually was a place in the documentation where it did show using apt-get update rather than apt-get upgrade. And I am now wondering with this right here, if this button is not doing the wrong thing. Let me just check this though, because it could be, let me leave. Okay. So we'll do refresh. It could be that when I hit refresh, when I hit refresh before, it was in the middle of updating this, and that window that we just saw did not pop up. I think that's what the issue was. Okay, so if this is not populated, don't hit the refresh button because it won't work properly. That's perhaps a bug to be reported. So now if I hit upgrade again, now it's giving us the right information. So that was the problem. The problem was that in the moment, I happened to hit the refresh button before it had done the first listing here. And so I thought that in hitting that, it was populating this list, but in fact, a little silent error occurred. So this is doing the right thing. Because that would have seemed really weird. That would have seemed like a rather large oversight. All right. So with that out of the way, and I'm not going to finish upgrading these just because of time. I've only got a few minutes left. But I do want to show you how the ACME stuff works. And we're going to do that pretty quickly and simply using DuckDNS. So we're actually going to have to go back to the data center layer, and then we're going to find ACME at the data center layer, because it's at both layers, but it does different things. So for the account, I clicked add account. All we need to do is put in a friendly name. Account name is basically a comment. And so it doesn't matter what we call this. It's just going to be, I guess this is the account that's on Mplex 3. So I'll just call it ACME Mplex 3. What email? I'm going to put in aj@therootcompany.com. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to accept the terms of service for Let's Encrypt. We could also use Let's Encrypt staging if they don't have support for Zero SSL or other ACME providers right now. And I should check and see if we can add that via the command line. Put a little note in there for that. So I'm going to click register here. And it's just using acme.sh to go through the account registration process with the email address. So now you can see it has the account right here. So once we have the account, we can view it. Nothing special about it. Then we can add a challenge plugin. It's really important that we do this before we go forward. So to add a challenge plugin, again, the ID is going to be just a friendly name. It's a comment for us. So I'm going to call this Acme DuckDNS. What's the API? I think this one, okay, it does have DuckDNS here. Yeah. And then what's the API data? This we have to go look up at the ACME.sh documentation. So I'm going to go look up DuckDNS acme.sh. This should take me to the GitHub page. This looks like this is probably right. This first hit. Oh, no. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back here. I think in the README is where we want to look. DuckDNS. No? Okay. Let's try. You know, I remember looking at the documentation. All right, wiki. Maybe it's the wiki. How to install. Blah, blah, blah. DuckDNS. No? Okay. Let me see if I got it in my notes here. I think that I do. Yeah, it's in the wiki. That's where it is. Okay, so it's at the wiki. And DNS API. It's under DNS API on the wiki. DNS API. There we go. DNS API. I think it was DNS API 1. And then we can look for DuckDNS. So you got name.com, DigitalOcean, etc., etc. And then the funny thing about this that you got to remember is that it's not using standard shell variable names. It's doing this camel case bit. So we don't need the export. That we don't need. Oh, that's me. But we do need to put that in here. And we don't need the quotes either. In fact, I think that we can't use the quotes when we do it here. So I'm going to close these out and we're going to go to DuckDNS real quick. And I already have an account set up. So we're going to sign in with Twitter. And, you know, this is just because it's simple and it's easy to do. You look up the documentation for name.com, DigitalOcean, whatever. You're going to go get a token. They're very similar. You're going to look at that documentation page. It's going to show you what variables you need and the casing that you need for them, which is the tricky bit. Because if you're just like, oh, I'll do this token the same way I do it anywhere else. All caps DuckDNS, all caps token with an underscore. That makes sense. But that won't actually work. So I'm going to regenerate this token after this video, but just to show you what we're doing here. There we go, API data. There's the token. So I'm going to click add. So now I have the challenge plugin. If I had not done that, then when I go to add it at the node level, it would be very confusing because I would be presented with an empty list and the UI that you get makes it seem like you need to install something, like something is missing from the install, but this is where you define it right here. So from there, I'm going to go at the node level. I'm going to go down to ACME. Let's see, it's in a different part of the system here. So here it's under, is it under system? Where is ACME here? Is it under DNS? No, it's not under DNS. Where is it? Somebody pointed out if you see it before I do. Is it under hosts? It's not under hosts. Is it under options? It's not under options. Where did ACME go? I'm logged in as root. This is something that's really important. You must be logged in as root, or I don't think that you can grant access to do this particular setup. Oh, it's under certificates. Sorry, it's under certificates. But I believe that at the data center level to do those, I don't think there's any permission yet to do that. So you need to be logged in as root. So this is part of your initial setup. I think that this layer can be managed with permissions, but the ACME one, if I recall correctly, granting all permissions at the root level to a user did not allow me to add ACME when I was trying to do it previously. So it's here under system and certificates. And then these, we could upload a custom certificate if you've got a site level certificate, whatever. So I can click on add under ACME. And notice, I didn't show this. I just grabbed the token, but notice how I've got these set up. So we are on MPLX3 and I'm using the private IP address. So I'm just setting this up for internal use at the moment. And we're doing challenge type is DNS. That's what allows us, I skipped over that part. That's what allows us to use a private IP address. And so now you can see the plugin has the ID that we named it. So we called it DuckDNS. I probably should have given a more specific name like DuckDNS MPLX3. Well, I guess it works for my account. It's by account because you could have multiple DuckDNS accounts. You could have multiple name.com accounts. You could have multiple DigitalOcean accounts, whatever it is. And so then the domain that we're doing here is mplx3.duckdns.org because I'm calling mine MPLX3 rather than PVE3. Just because it helps me distinguish between the different lab setups I have and this training material that I'm doing. So we go ahead and click that. All right. And there we are. So now that's set up, which means that now the recommendation is that you close your browser and reopen your browser because right now we still have a TCP connection to this IP address. So if I just go over and put in the domain name, let's see if I can do that. So if I go over and put in the domain name, we will probably still get an error because it's going to see that connection and try to reuse it. Oh, and I need to put in the 8006 here, HTTPS. Okay, so you see it's still got an error there. So we need to close this out, and now we need to do it again. And if this doesn't work, I'll just redo the browser. Okay. Let me try one more thing because I may have forgotten to click on something. So let me go back under the node level, certificates, order certificates now, domain, DNS, using account. Okay, I forgot to click on this. Using account. There we go. Order certificates now. ACME config file default does not exist. Of course it doesn't. So let's go back up here to the data center layer. Let's go back to ACME. And do we need to, I think we actually do need to call one default maybe. All right, that looks good. I think if we did not supply a name, yeah, account name default. Okay, so I might file that under a bug. So account name defaults. Okay, let me go back again. Sorry for the trouble here. These are how these live demos go. This is why I'm doing this, so we can get it better. Am I in the USA? Yes, I am. So let me go back here. Plugin, yes. Domain, yes. Using account. Oh, do I need to save this? Apply. The apply button was just outside of the window. There we go. Apply. All right. That makes more sense. Let me move this over. Boop. There. Now we would have been able to see that. Now we click order certificates. It's going to go through. This generally takes about a minute because they have the precaution in place that waits for 30 seconds before it actually orders. Hey, what's up, Wucha? And I'm in Utah. So I'm in the Silicon Slopes area. And I'd love to go out to lunch and talk. You have to let me know what states you go through. So I actually wasn't paying attention to the time and I have to go. But I'm going to let this finish. This should only take another few seconds. Order's ready, finalizing order. And restarting PVE proxy. So now, please reload the GUI. We're probably, we're still going to get that error. So what I'm going to do is close out this tab. If there are any connections left open to that IP address, it's going to continue to give us that error. So that's an important thing to note. That's why they recommend close your browser and reopen it, because you might have another tab open somewhere, or sometimes the browser has a background task, or there's something going on in the background that keeps that connection open. But now you can see, now we have ACME. We've got the Let's Encrypt set up. We've got real certs that we can use. The next thing that I want to go into is how we set up authentication. So that is also up at the data center layer. We haven't created any users yet. I will show how to do this with the root account first. Actually, maybe I'll just go into creating users. Next time we'll do permissions with users and the two-factor authentication. Now that we've done this, now we can use WebAuthn. The one thing I'll say before I leave, though, is don't just do WebAuthn. You should also have recovery keys and TOTP, because you need two factors of authentication, password, and something else. But if the domain were to expire, WebAuthn is not going to work. WebAuthn will not work if the TLS certificates are not valid. So WebAuthn is very nice. That gives you your Touch ID, your Face ID, whatever, to be able to get in and manage things. But it is brittle and fragile. If you change the domain, if then everything gets wiped out, you have to go through the process and re-add it again. You might be able to add two of them. Well, you would be able to add two of them, but I'm not sure if that works out with the way that iCloud does it. No, I think that can work. We'll go through that another time. I did go through this scenario, and essentially I just want to make sure that you don't rely on WebAuthn as your only mechanism. That's the thing that I wanted to get out, because if you are doing that, then you set yourself up for getting locked out and having a hard time. Now, with that said, no, I'll go into this next time. Because if you can get in via SSH, you can do an anti-lockout bit and then reset things when as you need to. But with that, I'm out. Thanks for tuning in. Thumbs up if you liked it. Sub if you want to. I'm going to be putting the live content here on my personal channel, which is CoolAge86. As we get edited content, that's going to go on the Root Company. So YouTube at the Root Company. That's going to go on that channel. Again, if there's anything that you'd like help with, if you want to do some consulting, if you'd like a discount on your Proxmox enterprise subscriptions, go ahead and reach out to us. And until next time, adios. Oh, I was too slow on the button press. Adios. Also, I realize I'm still doing the Beyond Code role because I am. I need to cut that and put in the root role, but I had another OBS set up and I was doing some stuff under Beyond Code. So that's why that is. Anyway.